Hi, I'm Eva Carter. I want to talk to you today about my book How to Save a Life, and also about some other books and authors that have inspired me. So How to Save a Life is a love story that begins when one heart stops, and that is on the eve of the millennium. You have a young footballer, Joel, who is running across a field at Hove Lawns, that's on Brighton seafront, not far from where I live. Suddenly he collapses, and two of the witnesses are his former school friends, that is Kerry and Tim. They both want to be doctors, they're both equipped to help him, but one freezes and the other steps in. Kerry runs across the lawns to give CPR, and in the next 18 minutes she fights to help save his life. The effects of that night will have repercussions on all three of them for the next 18 years as they deal with heartbreak and career choice and vocation and their own feelings about this miracle that happened and has changed everything for all of them. The book was actually inspired by my own experience of saving my partner's life. I woke up one night and he suddenly needed CPR. It was something I'd had training for years and years previously. Never thought I'd actually have to use. And I also had no idea how low his chances of survival were. When he did come back, that miracle was incredible, but it was also incredibly challenging. And so I knew that I wanted to write about that experience and be honest, but also hopeful. And that's what How to Save a Life is all about. So in the process of writing the book, I read a lot of medical memoirs, and this is one of my favourites, Your Life in My Hands, a junior doctor's story by Rachel Clark, and it is what it says on the front. It is a really honest account of what it is to finish your basic medical training and then go into a situation where you are responsible for people's lives. An intense experience, an often scary one. This is an honest, sometimes political book, and it gave me a real insight into what that experience must be like. My mum was actually a nurse, she worked in trauma departments, so I grew up around medical stories, but this gave me a sense of what it's like now, especially for young people. Rachel also wrote a book called Dear Life, which is about palliative end-of-life care. That memoir is equally moving and revealing, and I also used some of the emotions in that in the book. The second book I want to talk to you about that's a favourite is Together by Julie Cohen. This is a love story that is told backwards, and it begins with one of the main characters walking into the water, evidently committing suicide. And then the book is told backwards as we go through and begin to understand and try to guess what the reasons are for that very drastic action. But it's not just insightful about that, it's also mystery around human behaviour. The other thing that Julie does beautifully here is that sense of setting. And she's telling a story over a very long period of time, and I love the way that she zooms in on those key moments, which is something I've tried to do as well in How to Save a Life. The final book comes from one of my all-time favourite authors, that's Lisa Jewell, who writes psychological thrillers and what is sometimes called women's fiction as well, certainly in her earlier books. This is Vincent and Joy, which falls into that latter category. Some people over the years have called these books chick lit, which I find extremely anger-inducing because it belittles books by women written for an audience of mainly women readers. I love this book. The reason I picked this one, as from all the books I love by Lisa, is that like How to Save a Life, it covers a long time scale. This case 17 years. It starts in 1986 and follows our heroes, Vince and Joy, as they navigate their teens, their 20s, into their 30s and wonder what love is all about, whether they missed their chance when they started off. I like writing about those missed chances myself. Sometimes as a reader you can enjoy that feeling of frustration as you wait for your readers, you wait for your main characters to kind of make good decisions when they're making bad ones over and over again. But that's like life, isn't it? So another one that is really recommended. Just a reminder then, they all inspired How to Save a Life, which as well as being a novel is also a bit of a how-to guide. I structured the book around the 4 steps in the chain of survival, and that is a protocol developed to increase the chances of somebody surviving a cardiac arrest, which is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening event. If you read the book, you'll get an insight into that, and it may even help you understand how you could save a life.